Today I'm making a video on how to help a friend who has anxiety. If you're watching this video purely because you have a friend or a family member or a partner that has anxiety, I think you're the best, because I know that it might not be easy to understand that your family member is going through something that's quite hard to explain. It must be quite hard as well to feel like you see your loved one in a situation where they are completely out of control and all you want to do is help them and there's nothing you can do to help, and it makes you feel quite shit as a friend. Like, it makes you feel like there's nothing you can do to help your friend who's going through such a hard time, and that's actually really difficult to go through. So I know it's actually really not easy for somebody who's seeing somebody go through a mental health illness. It's not easy to watch. There are definitely things that you can do to help somebody with a mental illness, and most of them I think are just like self-explanatory things. Maybe they're things that you wouldn't have thought to do, but most of them I think are quite like, they're very easy to do, and they're things you probably are already doing, but just things that you need to up maybe a little bit more. And also, you might make mistakes along the way. You might say things that are not what the person wants to hear. You might say things that actually isn't the right thing to say, but you have to say these things to make sure you know what that person thinks is okay and what isn't. There's been plenty of times in my life when somebody said something to me about my mental health illness and it's not been something that I felt was appropriate. It's been something that's offended me or really upset me. But as long as that person, you have good communication with that person and they feel comfortable telling you, actually, can you not say that? That's not actually what my mental health's like, or whatever. As long as you respect that they might want to say something about something you have to say, as long as you're both in communication with each other and you're speaking all the time and you understand there's something that you can't understand. I think that's the main thing when it comes to helping your friend with anxiety, is understand that you won't understand. It's hard, unless you've been through a mental illness, you will never be able to understand what it's like. And I had quite a bad day the other day and I had a panic attack and I was trying to explain to my friend how frustrated I was, and I was just like, listen, like, it's just so frustrating that I can't explain how I feel. It's so frustrating that I can't tell you what's going on in my head, and it's so frustrating that you don't know what's going on. Of course it's not their fault, but it's frustrating that you can't voice how you feel. But with anxiety and depression and stuff, unless you've been through it, you probably won't be able to understand what they're going through. And I think realising that is the first best thing you can do for your friend. Something great that you can do for somebody that has anxiety is to learn their triggers. Learn what makes them feel uncomfortable, know more about their specific anxiety, because anxiety is such a broad thing. So I know a lot of people have anxiety that are totally fine with getting on planes, totally fine with getting on buses, totally fine with going to different parts of the world, but they can't be in a crowd. Whereas for me, I can be in a crowd, I can go to a gig if it's in Edinburgh and just like have a nice time and that kind of thing. I can socialise with people very well, like I don't get anxious socialising, but when it comes to getting on a bus, getting on a plane, going somewhere that I don't know, I am extremely anxious. And so knowing what their triggers are. Also, I get quite triggered when I eat a lot of food because I have a emetophobia. So when I am out for a meal with my friends and I eat like a big plate of food, I will start to feel extremely anxious. And knowing that my friends can really help me, because a lot of the time people say like, don't worry Emily, you're just feeling a bit anxious, like let's go outside for a minute. You're just feeling a bit full. We all feel full, but you're not going to be sick, nothing bad's going to happen. And because they say that, because they know that about me, they know that I feel anxious when I'm full, when I'm not in my full state of mind, they can remind me. And it's so helpful. And it just feels really nice that my friends know what the triggers are, and it's really nice to know that they don't think I'm crazy for it. They just think, okay, how can we help Emily in this situation? And it just feels amazing. The next thing you can try to do is try to accommodate them as much as possible. It's not possible to always accommodate for your friend's anxiety. For example, if you and your friends have all booked to go to a festival and you know that your friend with anxiety can't go, there's nothing you can really do about that. If your friend can't go because of their anxiety, the best thing you can do is try and remind them that you still wish they were there, and you still are obviously friends, and you still want to be able to do these things with them, but you understand that they're not ready for that. That's the best thing you can do in that situation, but you can't always accommodate somebody's anxiety. But as much as you can, if you're wanting to go out for a coffee with that friend, a good thing to do might be to suggest somewhere that's near their house, or somewhere that you know they will feel comfortable. Make sure your friend knows that if you two are out together, they are okay to leave at any point. Make sure that they know there's no pressure for them to stay. Make sure that there's just no pressure in the friendship. Make sure you're not saying things like you have to come because it's going to be fun. That kind of thing can put so much pressure on somebody with anxiety, and it's usually coming from a place of love, and it's usually coming from a place of, oh, I really want my friend to be there. But it can actually really make somebody's anxiety really terrible if you keep saying things like just do it, and I know it's not from a place of like, it's all from a good place, but that can really hurt somebody and can really make them feel just really anxious. So the best thing you can do is try to accommodate them as much as possible, and again, that kind of goes back to know their triggers, know what they can and can't do at the moment, and encourage them that they might be able to do it one day, but say it's okay, I know that you can't do that, let's do something else instead. The next thing I've got is to reassure them as much as possible. I know from experience of having anxiety, I ask weird questions, and they're questions that I need. Like, I will ask my friends, like, what time are we going? Like, what's the full plan? Where do you like to sit on the bus? I'll ask them really weird questions that they might be like, why are you asking me where I want to sit on a bus? Why does it matter? But to me, it really matters because it helps me. For my anxiety, I really like to be able to have a really clear picture of what's going on. So to know where my friend wants to sit on the bus, I can think beforehand where we're going to be sitting on the bus. I can think about exactly what the menu's like. I can think about all these things. So asking more questions for me helps me with my anxiety. I also tend to ask my friends weird questions that are uncomfortable for both of us. Like, I always ask my friends, like, have I done something to annoy you? Like, are we okay? 99, in fact 100% of the time, it's always okay. But I need to ask my friends these questions. It's not because I want attention, it's not because I want compliments or anything like that. It's because I genuinely feel like they probably don't like me. And this is something that I think a lot of people with anxiety have. They think like, my friends can't possibly like me. I must have said something wrong. I must have done something wrong. Why did I say that? Why did I do that? And that's just kind of like a continuous cycle in somebody with anxiety's head is, I've done something wrong. And so for your friend to be able to openly ask you, like, are we okay? And for you to say, yeah, of course we are. There's no problem. This is just your anxiety. And if you want to ask me that question whenever you want, you can ask me and we're always going to be okay. That's the best thing you could say to somebody with anxiety. And that's things that my friends have said to me so many times in the past, and it helps me so much to know that if I'm ever feeling anxious or feel like I've done something wrong, I can just ask them, have I done something wrong? And they will always say no, because it's just my anxiety. It's not that I've done anything wrong. So being able to be as open as possible and understanding as possible that your friends might ask you weird stuff, and to just reassure them and say, you can ask me whatever you like. And I won't think it's weird, and I want you to be able to talk to me about your anxiety and stuff. That's the best thing you could probably do for somebody with anxiety. My next kind of thing is, I want to make sure that people who have friends or family members who have anxiety, you need to know that it's okay to not always know what to say. It's okay to not always understand, and it's okay to feel like, I just don't understand why they feel like that. That's totally okay, as long as you're being respectful and you're trying your best to understand what they're going through. That's the best thing that you can do. But sometimes all that person needs is for somebody to listen, and for that person to be able to just say everything they want to say, and for you to just listen. You don't always have to know what to say. This is probably your first time going through this as well, and you're going through it with somebody else, and it's not always easy for you. So know that you don't always have to know exactly what to say, and sometimes you might say things that are wrong, but let that person correct you, and just as long as you keep being open with each other, that's the best thing. But you don't always have to say something. You can just sit and say, I'd really like to listen to you, and sometimes that's all that person wants, and it's all that person needs. And lastly, never be afraid to ask. If you think that your friend's going through a hard time, if you don't really know the etiquette around anxiety, if you don't really know what that person's limits are, if you have questions about their anxiety, if you're unsure about what it means, just ask them. I would never ever be offended if somebody asked me a question about my anxiety. I'd actually be really happy that they were taking an interest in what it's like, and I'd be really happy that they're trying to get to know this part of me a bit more. And so I'd always really appreciate if somebody asked me a question with my anxiety, and also if somebody asked me, are you okay, like, how's your anxiety been? I'd be so thrilled, and I'd be really touched that they felt confident enough and comfortable enough with me that they could ask me that question. And so just never ever be afraid to ask your friends what they need. Everybody's anxiety is so different, and so people have different needs. Sometimes your friend might need for you to go out on breaks with them every couple of hours when they're out socialising. Some friends might need you to help them hail a taxi, or sometimes people, if you have socially anxious friends, sometimes they might want you to order their meal for them in a restaurant. Don't think it's them not being independent or them being stupid. Just know that you doing that makes them able to go out for meals and that kind of thing. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it helped some of you, and I will see you soon. Bye!